welcome. Good morning. This November webinar is about surfing restrictions and what you can do to protect your business from risky websites. It is becoming more and more prevalent. So we really need to give you the tools to kind of set you in line with regards to protecting your information. Okay. All right. I am CEO and founder of CST Group. We are headquartered in Malone, New York, with an office in Southwest Florida. And we service clients kind of down the East Coast. We like to stay in our own time zone just because we do offer exceptional support. So we want to make sure that we are accessible to you. 23 years in business and 11 years in an adjunct position teaching at a couple of universities. I have a bachelor's degree in IT and master's degree in business communications. And of course, we are always doing some ongoing certifications. So that's kind of just a little bit about me. And now, who is CST? For some of you who are clients, we appreciate you very much, and you already know who we are. But we're a proactive IT firm that specializes in compliance-driven industries to kind of help secure, protect, and manage your technology. So that's who CST is. If you want to know more about the company, please visit our website, cstsupport.com. That it gives you all sorts of information on the website. Okay, so on the agenda today, I'm going to provide you with 4 tips to communicate with your team. How to recognize phishing and fake websites, how to avoid scams, and 8 ways technology can help you do that. Okay. All right. So that's what's on the agenda. All right. 4 tips to communicate with your team. All right. Clearly communicate your expectations on how they're allowed to use their technology, the do's and the don'ts. You have an idea, you need to lay it out. Number 2 is write that down in an IT policy that clearly indicates what the rules are. This is your only course of action if they don't comply. So you need to have a written IT policy. If you are a client already, we supply templates to you for that purpose. Okay. Number 3 is review that policy yearly. So it is not a one and done. I wish I could tell you it was, but it's not. You have to review that. You have to add to it. You have to take things away from it. I would like you to do that every year. So I would like it to be part of your yearly. Normally about this time of year, we're taking a look at IT policies and the documentation you have in place. And you're going to want to do that every year. Okay. And you're going to update that as necessary. So write the policy is number 2, review that policy every year is number 3. And then you need to actually distribute it, have them acknowledge it and sign it also every year. So it's great to have an IT policy, not so great if nobody sees it. Okay. So we want to make sure that you've got the policy in place that will set the foundation of what your staff can and cannot do. Okay. Remember that document is a living, breathing thing. And as technology changes, we've got artificial intelligence that we're working with now. So it's becoming more and more difficult to really identify the risks. So we want to make sure that it is distributed, acknowledged, and signed. So please make sure that you are implementing that. So communicate with your team. That is super important for us. All right. All right. So how do you recognize phishing and fake websites? All right. So here's just some really simple things I need you to be communicating. One is any incorrect or unrecognizable URL. Now, the URL is up in your address bar when you're surfing the internet. So sometimes as you surf around the internet, the URL will change to something obscure and it becomes unrecognizable because it adds all sorts of stuff to it. So just be aware of that. Look at it, pay attention to it. If it is not a secure site, and by that, I mean, when you're looking at the address bar, it will be HTTP or it'll be HTTPS, and we need you to see the S. The S means that it's a secure site and will indicate to you that you are surfing in a safe location. Okay. If you can't identify the email address sender, so you get an email, the sender says something. Maybe it's a person you recognize, you know that person, but the actual physical address, the email address is not that person's address. And I'm going to show you some examples of that today. So just be aware. Any undisclosed recipients. So if you're looking at the email and the recipients are not listed, or it's undisclosed, that means it's probably some spam that was sent to you and 1,000 of your friends. So be careful with undisclosed recipients, okay, receivers of the email. If there is a sense of urgency, and I don't care if it's a website sense of urgency that you're visiting, like, do it now, you're on a countdown, right? Or if it's an email that indicates an urgency, please be cautious. And that's what they're trying to get you at is you got to act on it fast, right? So be careful with any type of communication, whether that be a website or an email that expresses urgency, okay? If they are requesting banking information or any type of sensitive information, we want you to be cautious. Your bank will never do it. Any of your vendors, none of your vendors should do that. And you should always confirm with that organization that's requesting it prior to just submitting it via an email. Okay. If the information is generic or very vague, you also want to be cautious of that type of thing. Once again, whether it's an email or a website, be super cautious. And misspelled words. So I will show you some examples where the misspelled words in the format of the language is obvious, right? All right. Now that's not going to happen as much anymore because hackers are using artificial intelligence to write their content for them. So the likelihood of the misspelled words or the improper capitalization is declining. So it's becoming more and more difficult for us to identify websites and emails that are screwed up. All right, now let me show you this. Now, these are emails that I've received on my personal email, but you can see that Apple says my account is locked, right? That's the one at the top. It says Apple locked and report payment, right? So, okay, I don't want my Apple account locked. But when I have the email displayed at the bottom, you can see that the email address is payment, which isn't even spelled correctly, by the way, 98907 at cancel now payment. So in looking at that email address, it clearly is not an email that is actually coming from Apple. Okay. Now, the thing about this email is there's an attachment, right? So the goal is that I click the attachment, which will then download some malware. So we want to be super careful to identify who actually is sending me the email address, the email. Okay. Now here's another one. This one is from Amazon. It's an Amazon customer appreciation. It says, we've been trying to reach you. Please respond. Right. So that is once again, Amazon. We all do business with Amazon. And once again, when I look at the email address, it's newsletter@denpros.com. It's like, what is that? I don't even know what that is, right? That's certainly not from Amazon. Okay. All right. Now here's the third one. Once again, this is Social Security. All right. Now we want to pay attention to that, right? Will they email me? At the time, you don't know. It says important news, Mr. Mrs. Lisa Brown. Now you can clearly identify, guys, that in that particular screenshot, there's some capitalization issues, right? There's some capitalization stuff. So we know that doesn't look right, right? Be suspicious. That doesn't look right. Once again, I have the email on the bottom half of my screen, you can see that it's from newsletternewstact.com. Definitely not from the Social Security Administration. And there is a button they want me to click on, right? They want me to read more, which is the 8 changes to Social Security. So we want to be super cautious with that. Okay. Here's another one. This one is from Facebook. Now, most of us have a Facebook account, and it says your account hacked. So once again, I'm looking at that and it's not properly capitalized. So I'm going to be suspicious about that. And once again, I can see that it's not from Facebook. And when I do the read more, do you see how it wants me to click that read more? If I just point at that, I didn't click it, but if I just pointed at that with my mouse, the URL of that redirect is at the bottom of the screen. You can see that it starts with t.teclyf. Okay, that is certainly not where I would want to go on the internet. So I did not click that read more. I just used my mouse and pointed at that button, and it displayed where it was going to take me at the bottom. Okay. So you want to kind of do that. You gotta dig in. You gotta be a little bit of an investigator to figure out where those buttons are going to take you. So please be suspicious. Okay. With anything expressing any urgency and wanting you to act on it now. All right. So those are just 4 examples of what I've experienced. They are getting more clever with the wordage. So please be careful. All right. Now, here's 6 ways to identify fake websites. All right, now it's a little bit more complicated with regards to websites. Number 1 is any unusual payment options. So I know that we're getting a lot of social media stuff where you can purchase stuff. You're getting emails to purchase stuff, and they've got some weird ways that they want you to pay, right? So just be cautious of any unusual payment options. If the website is poorly designed, okay, if it's poorly designed, if it looks cluttered or it doesn't look like there's any rhyme or reason, and I'm going to be showing you some sites, so just any poor website design. If they've got a suspicious domain name with no security, so if you do not see the S of the HTTP, you know you are off a secure site. You will never submit your credit card information or any type of payment information on a site that does not have the S. Okay, that indicates that it's not secure. If there's no contact information or about us information on a website, be suspicious. When I work with, we do a lot of stuff, especially with clients, and we want to make sure that as we navigate around, I'm learning about their vendors, right? I'm learning about who you are all have building relationships with. So we are very apt here to kind of go to that about us information page, because I want to learn, right? I want to figure out who they are and what they do, and why my client wants to do business with them, and for all of those reasons. So if they don't have that information, you're going to want to also be a little suspicious. If there's any type of steep discounts, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. So please be careful with any company that's offering a steep discount. Okay, that's normally phishing attempts. And any negative reviews. So I am a little crazy about looking at the reviews of most every company I do business with, because I am curious on what kind of things that they're building out. Now, understand some of those reviews might be staged, so we do want to be cautious, but look at the number. Look at the number that company is getting for reviews. It is a definite indication of whether they are a legitimate company or not. Okay. All right, now here's some interesting websites that I pulled up. Now, everything I'm pulling up is fake. All of these websites. Now, no, granted, they're real websites. If you were to go to 70news.wordpress.com, you're going to land on a website. You're going to land on that website. The problem is that the information that's there is fake. It's all fake information. So you want to just make sure that you understand, especially in a political climate, when we have elections coming up, there's all sorts of these fake websites that get generated with fake news. And it's actually, as I get showing you these sites, it's satire information, which basically means it's designed as a joke, right? It's designed to make you laugh, embarrass, and discredit. So if it's a satire site, you know that the information they're providing to you is not intended as factual. It's intended to be humorous for you. And unfortunately, people are struggling with whether the content is real or not. So this is actually 70news.wordpress.com, completely satire information. All right, this one's the same. Now, here's what's uniquely special about this one is the logo for this site is strikingly similar to the real ABC News. Okay, but it is not. And you can see that abcnews.com, and then it says .co. So it looks very familiar. You're familiar with the ABC logos, but once again, this is not a real website. It's got the content on this website is all fake. Okay. Here's another one with InfoWars. This site is connected to Alex Jones, a radio host and conspiracy theorist who alleged that the Sandy Hook school shooting was a hoax. This indicates to you that it's real information, right? That he's sharing factual information when in fact he is not. Okay. And then you've got your newswire.com. And once again, this is a political climate, but this entire site is a satire site. So it's designed to make you laugh. It's designed to make fun of, and you just want to be super cautious with that. Okay. And here's the last one, theonion.com. This is a hugely popular website for information. The problem with it is that it is completely a satire site. So The Onion is considered the most popular satire news site on the internet, but international and national audiences have been fooled into thinking some of their stories are real. They are not. The entire site is designed with fake news. Okay. So you just want to be careful with regards to understanding that if it's on the internet, it does not mean that it's true or real. So you have to make sure that you're visiting. If you want content that is factual, you have to make sure that you're visiting organizations that are real, right? That you can hold accountable for what they are posting. Okay. So please be cautious with understanding fake from real. All right. So how to avoid scams. Now, in order for me to kind of help and guide you through the scam process, you need to understand all that there are. So there is phishing attacks. All right. So those exploit two vulnerabilities. One is human error. And global reliance on email communication. So phishing is coming through your email. Okay, they're doing phishing attempts. Vishing is a new term. Some of these are going to be new to you. Vishing is voice phishing, right? So it uses the phone to trick victims into handing over sensitive information. And that just happened with MGM, right? MGM got attacked a few months ago, and that attack was completely a vishing attack. They called as a client and asked for login credentials, and the help desk gave them login credentials. So it was a vishing attack. So please be careful with regards to stuff that you're getting on the telephone. And believe it or not, they're using our cell phones now. So oftentimes communication comes via your cell. Smishing is using SMS texting. So if you are a texter, they are trying to lure victims into handing over sensitive information via a text that you're getting. Oftentimes it's on behalf of one of your vendors. It's on behalf of a company you do business with. So be very careful with that. Whaling, that's a relatively new term, and it's attackers are deploying spear phishing techniques to basically high-level executives. Ultimately, they're calling you whales, and manipulates them into sending high-value wire transfers. That is also called man in the middle and business email compromise. So be super careful. We did have a client that was communicating back and forth with regards to the purchasing of a very expensive vehicle, and they were going to hand over financial information to what they believe to be the buyer of this vehicle, when in fact it got intercepted with a man in the middle. So it's happening right here in upstate New York. So be careful. Farming, aka phishing without a lure, it basically redirects internet traffic from genuine websites to seemingly identical spoofed pages in order to steal information, especially your credentials. So as you surf the internet and you are going from page to page using links, even if it's on a legitimate site, you are on a legitimate website, you've been there many times, you click a link on that, and sometimes it'll redirect you to something completely different. So you really have to be, you have to pay attention. You have to be aware of where you're surfing, and you have to educate your staff. You have to talk about it. You have to make sure that they're aware of what is happening. Show them this video, right? We are going to post this video live. Make them watch the video so that they understand that, as they maneuver the internet, sometimes they're taken out of a legitimate location and put into a phishing site. Okay. All right, so it is all social engineering, and one of the most sophisticated and successful ways an attacker can gain access to your company's data. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to build a relationship, and they're doing that with social engineering. So please educate yourself, use common sense. I know some are better at that than others. So you want to make sure that that if it looks weird, if it feels weird, if it's asking for confidential data, or if it's asking for security protocols, that be suspicious on that. Okay, and be vigilant both offline and online. So unfortunately, it's happening to us offline now as well, right? With our cell phones and vishing and smishing. So please be careful and very diligent. Offline as well. All right, and educate everybody. All right, so here's 8 ways technology can help. All right, so I want to make sure that you are aware of the fact that you can implement some things all by yourself, without needing anybody, to kind of make sure that you're taking as many precautions as you can, especially when it comes to staff, right? So keep your browser up to date. Now, we do not care what browser you use. You can use Chrome, you can use Edge, you can use Firefox, you can use any of the ones out there. We really don't care. What we care about is that you're keeping that browser up to date, because it too will require regular updates. And we want to make sure that that's happening. Now, if you are already a client, we do that for you. So you don't need to call me and say, is my browser up to date? That's part of our protocol. The team here makes sure that all of your software is kept up to date. So you want to do it if you're not a client yet. Please make sure that you're making sure your software is up to date. Turn on browser security. Now, I was tempted to actually give you guys like step-by-step instructions on how to make that happen, but that got a little overwhelming, and I only get 30 minutes with you. So turn on browser security. You can Google how to do it. If you're using Chrome, there's instructions out there that teach you how to turn on the browser security, and we want to make sure that it's on all of the systems you have in your facilities, right? So it's not just about yours, it's about your staff as well. So make sure the browser's up to date and browser security is turned on, okay? Do not store passwords in your browser. Now, I know that that is happening for most of you. I'm just going to say it. Most of you have some type of password stored in your browser. Okay. That is a dangerous thing to do for a multitude of reasons. First of all, it's not confidential. So I could go into any one of your systems and determine what your passwords are. If you are ever hacked, if you ever get any type of breach, they can access all of your passwords just by going into your browser. And that includes, if they're there, your banks. You guys are doing everything online. I talk to you on a regular basis. There's so much of what you're doing that is online. You tell me that every day. Right? Oh, everything I do, I don't store anything on my computer. Everything's online. Okay, that's great, but don't store your passwords in the browser. That's a dangerous thing to do. Okay. Ensure your antivirus, anti-spam software is up to date. If you are, once again, a client, we got you, right? We got you because we have some enterprise level stuff going on. If you are not yet a client, then we want to make sure that you are keeping the software up to date. It relies on you. You think it's doing it automatically, and it's not. So it does require some attention to make sure that those updates are actually happening, because sometimes they'll get stuck, right? They'll get stuck on requiring a restart, or they'll get stuck on something. So check it, okay? Check to make sure that it's up to date. We like you to enforce complex passwords for all of your online accounts. Now, I do a whole different webinar on the password stuff and the security stuff. I want you to use a complex password, not just a word. I'm trying to teach our clients with regards to use phrases instead. Use something that's longer in length, 12 to 16 characters. We can do that with a phrase. And then convert those some characters to numbers and whatnot. So try to enforce that. And it can't just be you. right? It can't just be you. It's got to be everybody in your organization because they all access the same stuff for you, right? So please make sure that you are putting a policy in place that says complex passwords are important, okay? Use and enforce multi-factor. I've said it 100 times this year. We all hate it. I'm going to be honest and say we don't enjoy it either. But I am pretty confident that if you're a client of ours, you want us using multi-factor, do you not? I mean, we hold some of your security stuff, so you would want us to do it, right? So we want to make sure that multi-factor is in place, and you have to come up with a policy of how you're going to manage that, because you have people that work for you, and if they're multi-factoring to their personal cell phones, that's something that you have to build out into your IT policy. How are you managing multi-factor? Because you need to implement it. And we would prefer that it go to a company owned something, and we have options for you for MFA. So please talk to my team with regards to how we're deploying that on your behalf. Number 7 is ensure a firewall is installed. Okay, so there's some misinformation with regards to what a firewall is. So there's a couple of different versions. We have a software firewall, right? That's built into your Windows environment if you're a Windows shop. So, but we're talking about a piece of hardware, a physical box that's in your office, that is basically the wall between your internet provider and you. And we want to make sure that that firewall is not just plugged in, hooked up, and walked away from, because that box requires updates, firmware, security updates. So you want to make sure that somebody's looking at that firewall for you. Somebody's got to look at it. You can't just install it and forget about it, because there's all sorts of breaches coming through. If you look at any, there's more risk with regards to firewalls that are not managed. So please be careful. Make sure you got one. That's step number 1. Okay. And then make sure somebody's paying attention to it, whether that be somebody in your office or whether that be us. Just make sure somebody's paying attention to it. All right. And the last one is deploy advanced web filtering. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about what that looks like. So advanced web filtering ultimately limits where your staff can surf on the internet. Okay. And that's ultimately what web filtering does for you. It's also called DNS filtering. It allows us to prevent staff from going to certain sites. Okay. So what is it? It's basically software that prevents users from visiting certain websites. All right. Now here's the type of things that we can control with a web filter. Basically, we can block any security risks, whether that's a website that is keyloggers or monitoring, malware sites, spyware, adware. We can block the security risk stuff. We can block content. So if you say, look, I don't want my staff searching anything drug related. I don't want them searching anything sexual. I don't want them surfing anything to do with alcohol or lingerie or questionable legal sites. If you don't want them searching for weapons, you don't want them surfing for anything that involves violence. Social media sites. Let's say you come to me and say, hey, I don't want my staff to be able to get on their social media site while they're at work. I'm not paying them to do that. Then we can stop them from doing that. We can also stop them from shopping. Holidays are coming, guys. Your staff are with you 8 hours a day. The odds of them not visiting a shopping site are pretty slim. So do you want to prevent that? Is it a problem for you? I don't know. Lifestyle, if you don't want them booking their vacations, if you don't want them going on the hunting and fishing websites, we can truly prevent them from going to these types of sites. And we can do any combination of that, right? We can do any combination of that. Now, here's the things that we normally do not block. We don't block search engines. We don't block web-based email. We don't block anything government, any type of services like that. We don't block any legal, job search, translation, anything like that, news and media, health and medicine. So we don't block that. However, we have the ability to do any combination of what's listed there. Okay, so here's all I'd like for you to think about after this webinar is it a problem for you Do you have the precautions in place? Do you have you communicated what is good about your staff as far as where they surf and what they're doing? Do you think it's an issue? Do you have maybe one or two staff members that maybe you're saying, I wonder how much time they're spending on their social media, or I wonder how much time they're spending, shopping with the holidays coming. You need to evaluate it for yourself. There's nobody that knows your company better than you. So you have to kind of evaluate how things are working within you. I need an IT policy at minimum. I need you to communicate with what your expectations are minimally. Do that. Okay. I'm asking you to do that. If you believe that there's issues, if you believe like, maybe I should block, we have lots of our clients that do that, where they just say, you know what, they're not going to go on social media. They've got their phones now, right? Like everybody's got a way to do personal stuff on their personal devices. So you want to redirect them to do that. Okay. So just evaluate your risk. That's all I'm asking you to do. You know where we are if you need any advice. All right. So we do have one more webinar coming up in December. That is kind of our end of year technology review. Now, I know it's hard for me to get people on this webinar, but I will be bringing up anything that needs to be addressed by end of year. And that is being hosted on the 20th. So I'm not giving you a lot of time with regards to any new information that I have that I want to share with you before you close out the year. Okay. And I'll project out some things that are happening in 2024. Okay, guys. So we always have a special offer for people that have joined us that are not existing clients. We can do a network assessment for you. That is free of charge. And if I have taught you anything, please use the resources that you have to get information. So if you just want to know what risk you're at, if you just want to know, have us take a look at if you've got somebody, maybe you have an IT firm already, and that's great. We never want to step in the middle of something that's successful for you, but we do want to make sure that you're paying attention to it. All right. And if you want a third party to come in and just say, hey, are we good? Like, are we good? That is fantastic. Okay. So Sarah, I know you and Michelle are kind of tag teaming with regards to any questions out there. So do we have anything?
We do have one. We have staff that perform duties related to purchasing items on Amazon and other shopping sites and posting stuff on Facebook. So we cannot prevent them from doing their job. What do we do in a situation like that?
Okay, so that is a great question. And one thing that I want to make sure you're all aware of is when you're doing some advanced web filtering, it's drilled down to the computer they're on. So you get to decide what the person sitting in the chair at that computer, what their limitations are. We have oftentimes where administrative staff we don't even include in the web filtering, right? You who owns the company can do anything you want, right? But you may have a social media person that computer that person sits at would be left open. Okay. So you get to control it right down to the endpoint level. So right down to the computer, each individual's computer. So that's the great thing about web filtering is you can basically say, hey, I want Susie to be able to do social media, but I don't want her to shop. I want Joe to be able to shop. He's my purchasing guy, but I don't want him to do social media. So you can drill it down right to the very end of who's sitting in the chair. Okay. Anything else, Sarah?
No other questions.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you. We love the feedback. So any feedback you can give us, we want to make sure that we're getting that feedback on whether you've liked them. We are doing a 2024 webinar schedule. So that schedule is already, my staff and I are working on that. So we are still planning on doing 30-minute webinars once a month, all of 2024. If there's anything that you would like to see, please let us know. We'll be able to communicate those in the new year. I'll give you the entire schedule. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you very much. Bye.